The movie opens in 1983 on a stormy night, where a young boy named Billy Park struggles to fall asleep after waking from a nightmare. His mother, Mary, tries to comfort him, assuring him that the monster he fears in the closet isn't real. Billy insists that they come for him in the dark, and Mary checks under his bed to calm him and tells him she'll leave the door slightly open in case he needs her. Later that night, Billy wakes up to find his bedroom door closing by itself. He notices something unusual and sees a dark figure inside his closet. Panicked, he hides under his covers, and his flashlight suddenly goes out as the creature moves around the room. When everything goes quiet, Billy peeks out, only to be attacked and dragged away by the dark figure. 16 years later, the story shifts to Julia Lund, a psychology grad student returning to her apartment after an early morning drive. She listens to her voicemail and finds several messages, including one from her supervisor. After bathing, she heads to a clubhouse with her boyfriend, Paul, where they chat and play snooker. Later, they go to Paul's apartment, but the mood changes when his friends unexpectedly arrive. They've recently lost their jobs and ask to stay with Paul for a while, and he agrees. Inside Paul's room, as he and Julia are about to become intimate, they are interrupted by a phone call. It's from Billy, Julia's childhood friend, who urgently asks to see her and gives her his location. Julia takes a train to a diner, where she finds Billy visibly terrified. She notices wounds on his hands and sees that he's easily shaken by flickering lights, now deeply afraid of the dark. Billy tells her that their childhood night terrors were caused by something not of this world. He claims he was kidnapped by mysterious creatures when he was a child and was missing for 2 days. Julia struggles to understand, and Billy warns her to avoid the dark, then shoots himself in front of her. Shocked by the incident, Julia stays over at Paul's apartment to grieve. That night, she wakes to find the closet door wide open and shuts it.
Hello?
She doesn't see Paul and hears the shower running, so she goes to check. In the bathroom, she's startled when black fluid erupts from the sink. The mirror briefly reveals a glimpse of another dimension filled with strange creatures. When she touches the fluid, her fingers begin to stick together, and she comes face to face with a creature. Paul hears her screams and rushes in, finding her alone and acting disturbed. He calms her down and suggests she might have been sleepwalking, as she has no memory of the event. The next day at Billy's funeral, Julia comforts his parents and meets his 2 friends and roommates, Terry and Sam. They slowly begin to believe Billy's claims, as they also had night terrors as children and think they might be coming back. Julia gets upset by Sam's careless comments and later visits Billy's childhood room, where she finds a drawer full of batteries. Terry arrives, apologizes for Sam's behavior, and tells Julia that Billy often talked about her and their childhood experiences with night terrors. He explains that Billy was obsessed with avoiding the dark because of those fears. While driving through a quiet area, Julia suddenly sees a creature run across her windshield, and her SUV engine shuts off. She gets out to check the engine and sees a dark figure in the woods, but it quickly vanishes. As strange noises begin, she rushes back into the car and tries to restart it. She's startled by a vision of Billy and falls backward onto the road, nearly getting hit by a passing truck. She manages to get back into her car, starts it, and drives away. Julia later goes to Paul's apartment for support but finds him drunk with his friends Troy and Darren, and disgusted, she leaves. Paul follows her outside to talk, but when she tells him about what happened on the road, he laughs it off. Julia gets angry, and they argue before Paul walks away. At Terry and Sam's apartment, the 3 of them go through Billy's diary and find several disturbing drawings. Terry and Sam ask Julia if her night terrors have returned, but she says no. Terry shares that her own night terrors began when she was 5, after seeing her sister drown at a lake their family used to visit. She recalls one incident where she vanished from her bedroom and was later found inside the doghouse. When her father tried to reach in and get her, she stabbed him in the eye with a kitchen knife, believing he was a demon. Julia also suffered from terrifying night terrors as a child, which began after she witnessed her father take his own life. However, she believes she has moved past them. Later, Julia visits her therapist, Dr. Booth, and tells him about her recent night terrors and the strange things she's been seeing. Dr. Booth suggests that her nightmares might be triggered by stress. Since he doesn't usually treat adults, he offers to reschedule their session to continue the conversation later. While searching a storage room for a box of her old belongings, Julia is frightened by what seems like the presence of a dark creature, but it turns out to be an elderly man who is also in the room. Back at the apartment, Sam paints a strange image on a board, while Terry wonders what Billy was thinking when he decided to take his own life. She also discovers a mark on her leg similar to the one Billy had, and Sam eventually steps out to take a walk. Left alone, Terry begins to hear strange noises coming from the vent and goes to check it out. At first, she sees it's just a rat, but then she sees something else that startles her. At home, Julia watches an old VHS tape of herself as a child. In the video, young Julia is sleeping peacefully until she suddenly wakes up screaming and starts pounding on the wall. Julia notices something unusual in her younger self's eyes. Later, she reads a book titled Iconography, which talks about demons tormenting their victims while they sleep. That night, Terry goes to the pool area to relax, and while getting ready, the wound on her leg gets worse. As soon as she enters the pool, the only person there, a man, leaves for the changing room. Alone, Terry notices the lights going out one by one, followed by a strange noise. A dark creature enters the water with her, and she quickly swims out, running to the door, only to find it locked. She manages to escape through another entrance into the locker room, but just when things seem calm, the creature attacks her. The next morning, Julia goes to her school to defend her master's degree in psychology, but she's unprepared and leaves her supervisors disappointed. At home, while taking a bath, Julia receives a call from Sam asking to see her. When she visits his apartment, Sam tells her that Terry is missing, only her bag was found in the locker room. Although he has contacted the police, he believes they won't find her because he thinks she has been taken to another dimension. Sam reads from Billy's diary and warns Julia that the creature from their childhood is coming for them. He shows her a mark on his shoulder similar to those that appeared on Billy and Terry. Julia is doubtful at first, but her belief starts to shift after meeting a young girl named Sarah, one of Dr. Booth's patients, who also suffers from intense night terrors. Sarah says they are going to eat her in her dreams and that the only thing that keeps them away is light. She then picks at a strange mark on her arm, one that matches the same kind seen on Billy, Sam, and Terry. Curious, Julia goes to Paul's apartment and asks him to check her body for a mark like the others had, and after searching, he finds nothing. Since she doesn't have the mark, Paul reassures her that she has nothing to worry about, and the two become intimate. Meanwhile, at his apartment, Sam is painting when he suddenly hears strange noises. An invisible force begins to affect the space, candles blow out, and the lights start going off. Sam runs to the elevator to escape, but the force shakes it violently and the lights flicker. He manages to get off the elevator, but is immediately attacked and dragged away by the unseen presence. Later, as Paul walks Julia out of his apartment, the two apologize to each other for their earlier arguments. At home, while watching the news, Julia notices her closet door is wide open. She goes to investigate and tries to turn on the light, but it doesn't work. Suddenly, she comes face to face with the creature. She runs out of her apartment in a panic and bumps into a man, and at that moment, she feels something strange on her forehead. Julia rushes into a nearby restaurant bathroom, and looking in the mirror, sees an injury on her forehead. To her shock, she discovers a mark, just like the others had, and pulls a long black needle out of it. In a panic, Julia rushes to Paul's apartment late at night and wakes him up, asking for help. Seeing how distressed and unstable she seems, Paul begins to believe that Julia is losing her mind. Without telling her, he puts a sleeping pill in her drink, which she takes. When Julia realizes he has drugged her, she reacts emotionally, but Paul tries to calm her down. While he steps away to get clothes and attempts to call Dr. Booth, Julia escapes. She runs to a subway station and forces herself to vomit out the sleeping pill. But before she can leave, the station gates close, trapping her inside. With no choice, she boards a train alone, and discovered she is the only passenger. As the train moves, the lights begin to flicker and eventually, the train stops completely. Julia steps out and watches as the lights in the tunnel burst one by one, and suddenly, the creature attacks her. It nearly drags her into the darkness, but she holds on tightly to a rail until the train powers back on, scaring the creature away. Julia manages to flee and finds an opening at the top of the tunnel. She climbs up, but the exit is jammed, making escape difficult. As the creature approaches again and begins to drag her back, Julia grabs a shard of glass to defend herself. Just then, a group of tunnel workers arrives and tries to help her, but thinking they're not human, Julia attacks one of them with the shard. She is quickly overpowered and knocked unconscious by one of them. Julia is taken to Dr. Booth's mental institution, where she finds herself surrounded by Dr. Booth and Paul. Dr. Booth tells her she was found in the subway, injured and disoriented. Before leaving, Paul tries to reassure her that everything will be okay. Left alone in her room, Julia tries to escape but discovers the door is locked. As she looks out at the other patients from her window, she is suddenly attacked by the creature again. Dr. Booth and an orderly rush into the room after hearing her screams, but Julia is nowhere to be found. Dr. Booth's attention turns to the open closet, and unknown to him, Julia has been pulled into the alternate dimension she saw before, this time, trapped inside the closet. She screams for help, but Dr. Booth and the orderly can neither see nor hear her. The movie ends as Dr. Booth, who is unaware of what's happening, closes the closet door, and the creatures finally drag Julia away. Okay guys, that's all the recap about They from 2002. Thanks for watching, see you again in the next video.